Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In Nier Reincarnation, the spoiler embargo is up for Scarlet, which is Chapter 2 of The People in the World. So let's talk about that. My impressions here will be very influenced by what I laid out in my Part 1 videos, both the spoiler-free and spoiler-full. I'll link to those below. First of all, I don't really consider the opening CG movie as part of Indigo. I consider it its own thing, like a prologue or something. So, with that distinction made, I liked this part 2, I liked Scarlet more than Indigo. Because while I thought part 1 was simply treading water and telling us what we already knew about the kind of the 4 featured characters, part 2 gives us a little insight and a little resolution, although there is still some treading of water. Overall, I was impressed as always with the new section of the cage, the new battle screens, the new music. Although Episodes 1 and 2 are too short, it's clear that they put a lot of work into these other aspects. But also, as usual, why does the game put so much effort into those things if there's not much story to hang on it? Did the cage design come first and the story later, or the other way around, or were they created together? It feels very disproportionate to how fancy the presentation is with how slight the story is. One big question I had at the end of part 1 was, what is the nature of these Scarecrow characters when they go from being memories stored in a bank to walking and talking in the cage as travelers? Are they programs that can only run on a set track, or is it closer to a life after life where they can learn and grow and change? It was vague at the end of part 1, but there is pretty conclusive evidence in part 2 for yes, they are people, not just projections. Akeha says she learns from Saryu to see her own situation differently. Saryu moves from not forgiving Priyet to forgiving her. And so I actually like that. I reached the end of part 1, and I feel like I didn't learn anything new about Fio, Lavanya, Argo, or Noelle. But at the end here of Scarlet, we got some real progress. Regarding Saryu and Priyet, what was interesting there was that Saryu's revelation derived from understanding the all-consuming way Priyet saw her. I talked about this exact thing in my Sun Moon Scarecrow Stories reaction video, I'll link to that too, but I talked about how subjects of obsession can truly not know that they are seen that way. Pretty much everyone sees themselves as normal, only psychopaths see themselves as better or above everyone else. But we see Saryu assert that need to talk to Priyet for real, which is really hard, but it's a sign of her growth, and they talk and Saryu forgives Priyet. Now, killing 100 people is unforgivable, but I would say that since they are both quote-unquote dead and in the quote-unquote afterlife, I'm okay with Saryu's decision. I'm okay with the forgiveness there. If Priyet were still alive in the real world, then I think she would absolutely have to face a reckoning for all of the families and friends that she hurt through the murders, but since they're so way beyond the realm of that world or anyone in it, I think it's fine to move on. There is great strength in Saryu shown in these moments, and I could believe that from now they would work together to search for a way to break the curse on Priyet, and Saryu is clever and talented enough to maybe pull it off. And then I can feel this because I know now that these characters can grow and change, even in the cage, and this is what I was hoping for, some resolution with a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I said this before and people told me no, it's a Yoko Taro game, everything is sad and hopeless forever, but at least with Saryu and Priyet I got kind of a happy ending. We'll see if there's any more to it in future chapters. But now that I know that these characters can grow and change, that makes me more invested in them, and it makes me scared for the future. Like imagine the computer programs being lost. That sucks, but it's just like memory being erased, but having this life after a life ended somehow would be like a person dying all over again, and I don't want that. And then because of like this difference that we see with Saryu and Priyet compared to the characters from Indigo Chapter 1, I feel like kind of more attached to the Sun and Moon characters. Again, I didn't see any growth from Fio, Lavanya, Noelle, or Argo. So like if they were to quote-unquote end, then it wouldn't bother me as much because they seem more like projections rather than the people that Saryu and Priyet strike me as. Alright, and then I did praise, this Scarlet part for having more progress and having more, characters learning and growing. But Akeha had an element of treading water, I'm afraid. In the end, she comes to the conclusion that she is the master of her own fate, that she can choose where her life goes. But we already knew that from other stories leading up to now, so I was disappointed in Akeha's part. But there was an interesting wrinkle to her story, and that was the idea that different costumes that we get in the game represent different timelines or different viewpoints. The bloodless version is the one that kills the heir of the rival family rather than saving them, and that different reality per costume is an interesting idea. I think maybe we all knew on a subconscious level that the different costumes were not all exactly the same person. The costume stories gave us hints on that, but to see it represented so plainly here was eye-opening. Something that I was kind of disappointed in, but not really expecting, was that there was no advancement on the plot of the cage or Mama. There were no new hints on who or what the people and the world are. And I don't expect any more further details about them in Part 3, which should be coming in September. Okay, so those are my thoughts on Scarlet, Part 2 of The People and the World. A little bit of improvement over Part 1, I would say. But I'm personally really waiting for the plot to develop with Mama and the cage. Okay, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.